All right, everybody, welcome back. Totally German Radio. All right, are you ready, Nick? She's ready. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, awesome. All right, everybody, here she is. Let's welcome the president and founder of the Hollywood Museum, Donelle Dadigan. Hello, Donelle. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Faye. How about you?
I am excited. I can't wait.
All right.
All right. So, the president and founder of the Hollywood Museum. So, I would imagine, you're a person that must like to collect things.
You got me laughing already. I come from a long line of collectors, but equally important is all the different collections that are on display at the museum. All the different studios participate, the production companies, television shows, producers of films, the actors themselves, their families, their fans, and other collectors like me. It's just amazing, the outpouring and what is out there that can be put on display.
Yeah, that's totally amazing. Now, how did you come up with the idea to do this? I mean, were you having your own collection and then thinking, let's not make this big. Let's honor Hollywood.
Well, I like that story, but actually, it all got started with my mom and me. And we are both, my mother was a school teacher, my dad was a school teacher. There's a joke here somewhere, because I was a school teacher also. And my mom and I love to talk about our years of teaching school, and we realized that our kids, our students, for them to learn anything, they had to be entertained. And when they were being entertained, they didn't realize they were being educated at the same time, or that knowledge was seeping in. And, of course, I taught a very important subject when I was teaching. I taught music appreciation. And,
cool.
It's no longer taught, but, I taught it. It was not very important as far as the kids were concerned, but we made it real interesting. I mean, you have to for kids to want to learn about Ludwig van Beethoven, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, or Johann Sebastian Bach, or Frédéric Chopin. So we had to make it entertaining. And, I knew that secret thanks to my mom's years of being a school teacher. And I passed it on, and I will tell you, kids, after they graduated from school, and I see them, 10, 15 years later, it's still that same voice. Oh, Miss Dadigan, do you remember me? I still remember the sound of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, And it's fun to see it, the kid that's talking to me like that, well, he's now 6 feet 2 inches tall with a 16.5-inch neck,
Have you ever had old students come by the museum?
I have, and it's so much fun. Every so often, a group of them get together to come to the museum to see what's new at the museum. So it's lovely because it's just an extension, and now they bring their children. And what more could I ask for,
Oh, that's great. So the museum, I mean, you're saying it right there. It's a real family thing, a family, a day, just to take a walk back through Hollywood.
Well, it's exciting for us because we showcase 100 years of Hollywood. And so we talk about how the community, how it grew because of Hollywood. We have got collections from different TV shows and films dating back to almost 100 years ago to today, current. In fact, our next big exhibit that's going to open is celebrating Emmy Awards 2015. So it'll be all the current television shows that are fan favorites or have been nominated and will ultimately, one or two of them will ultimately win. So it's kind of exciting. We actually span the scope of it, and we do the same thing with films during award season, starting with the Golden Globes, going all the way through the Academy Awards. So it's kind of fun for us to see that great spans of time, that century. And people always ask me, so why did you choose where you're located? You wanted to be in Hollywood, whatever. But for us, it was about finding the right location. And for all of your listeners, there's never an easy way. Never. We never choose the easy road, do we?
No.
And I have to say I followed right in suit, and I did not choose the easy way, and I picked a building that was not for sale, and that was the Max Factor Makeup Studio, where Max Factor, who was once upon a time Hollywood's makeup king, who made all those stars from the golden era, he turned them into silver screen gods and goddesses. And, he did it with his makeup, his genius of makeup applications, lighting, shading. He turned Marilyn Monroe into the blonde that we know her as. Marilyn may have been born a blonde, and like most natural blondes, by the time they get into their teens, their hair has turned darker. And Marilyn, by the time she was 16, we have it evidenced in her first wedding photo. I don't know if you knew it or not, but her first marriage was at 16 years old. And she married the boy a couple doors away from her, and in her childhood, and her hair was brown in her wedding photo. So it was Max Factor who not only returned her to blonde, but gave her that blonde hair that we know her as, and also gave her fabulous hairline. He used electrolysis. He did the same thing with Rita Hayworth. She was a gorgeous woman, and he turned her into an absolute vixen. And he gave her the look that we relate to in one of her most famous films, Gilda, with Glenn Ford. But so I thought to myself, well, this is a great building. All these movie stars, Joan Crawford, Betty Davis, Angela Lansbury, Judy Garland, Marilyn, Lucille Ball. In fact, Lucy got her red hair in the Redheads Only room. To quote her daughter, she was born with mousy brown hair. But I kept thinking that this Max Factor building would probably be the greatest place possible to tell the story of Hollywood. And, of course, it didn't hurt that my mother thought it was a fabulous idea, too. Now all we had to do was talk the owner of the building into it, and that was the big conglomerate Procter & Gamble, because they owned Max Factor Cosmetics Company and still do to this day.
Now, was the building being used at that time?
Well, that's a great question. Max Factor had used this building to sell his products and use the upper levels as his factory levels. And when we came along, part of it was being used as the Max Factor Museum of Beauty. And he used where we have Mel's Drive-In, a great American diner. He used that area to sell discontinued products and old products. And then when the big when Max Factor Cosmetics Company was sold, whether it was Revlon, Playtex, Beatrice Foods, and ultimately Procter & Gamble, they used that area to sell products in their Procter & Gamble family, to sell those discontinued lines. And so we certainly did do an about-face, but yes, the building was used, and it was used as the Max Factor Museum and a store to sell discontinued items.
So you must have been pretty persuasive to be able to buy it out from under them.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And, the stars must have just been aligned because everything worked out beautifully. It was not that easy, but we were able to get everyone to come to agreement at Procter & Gamble. And they were kind of amazed that I wanted to open a museum. They let me know, well, you're not going to succeed. What makes you think you're going to succeed? More people than you can shake a stick at. In fact, they actually said people better than you, better connected than you, have tried since the 1930s, and it's never come to fruition. And if it has, they open and close very quickly. But, we were determined, and I have to say that Hollywood's honorary mayor, Johnny Grant, the man who gave the stars away on the Walk of Fame until his passing in 2008, he was a great supporter. He probably felt sorry for me, thinking, oh, this kid has no idea what's in store for her. But he was a great mentor. And one of the things he kept telling me is, you either give up, and if you're going to give up now. But if you're not going to give up now, you better push forward, and you better give it your all. And if you're going to do it, you're just going to do it. And he had that faith in us that we would do it. And thanks to his great pep talks and his moral support and just being who he was, it really gave me the strength to continue to make sure that this could happen, to open the doors.
Right. Wow.
He
That is
also told
incredible.
me, don't bother to open the doors unless your museum is filled. And today we boast over 10,000 exhibits in 35,000 square feet. So
Yeah, and that was
we
something I was
followed them.
wondering too. Like, do you get scared of being completely filled where you can't put nothing else in there?
Oh, that's also a very interesting question. We are not like your typical museum. We constantly change. We change exhibits numerous times a year. The Historic Photo Gallery is a permanent exhibit. We have over 1,000 vintage black and white photos of Hollywood, the community, how it grew because of the entertainment industry, photographs of stars at movie premieres, starting in the 20s and moving forward. And additionally, the Max Factor part of it with the world's famous makeup rooms, the redheads only, the blondes only, brunettes only, brownettes only, and the entrance to the building. Other than that, we constantly change the exhibit. And we are 4 floors of exhibits plus a ballroom on top where we do special events where stars come to do star-studded panels, symposiums,
Nice.
and that's always a lot of fun too.
That's really nice. So it's a whole so it's not just like, okay, here it is, it's set, come walk through, and that's it. Like, you're having functions going on, you have it changing exhibits every so often.
Oh, it's on a very regular basis. There's a new exhibit at least once a month. And what's fun for us, the proof that this works very well, is that we get many folks in the neighborhood, many Hollywood locals who come and visit us 4, 5, 6 times a year. And we've gotten to know them. And they always tell us there's always something new here. And they actually enjoy bringing their house guests or family from, out of state or out of the country to come and visit, and they take the tours themselves. So that tells us something.
Huh. Now, going back to the building real quick, were they thinking of possibly destroying the building? Did I read that correctly somewhere?
Well, there's been many talk about that, and I know that Procter & Gamble at one time had ideas to do a very large building there, I think, but I think that would have been a bit much. It's a very large piece of property, and it's beautifully built up, and I just was thrilled to become the custodian of it and be able to restore the building back to its 1935 grandeur when Max Factor Cosmetics Company opened its doors in the style of, it's called Art Deco Hollywood Regency style. And we're really thrilled to be able to have gotten an original set of plans and with the building historian and conservator, be able to rediscover what was there once upon a time and return it to that.
Now, how long did that take, to redo it like that and then be able to actually get open? I'm thinking at least a year or longer to do something like that.
Well, Bay, you must be a magician. If you could get it done in a year, I will tell you I gained 25 pounds and was pulling my hair out right and left. And it took years. It's always so interesting. I myself bargained for 4 years to restore the building.
Wow.
Because it's a historic landmark building. And, we wanted to do it correctly. But, it took longer than that. But that's okay because it's a fabulous representation of once upon a time.
So, I love that, though. I'm a person, I love looking at, old buildings and stadiums and arenas and stuff like that and the history. I can just stare at something like that and just picture, the history that went through that building. And when I see them demolishing buildings or arenas, it breaks my heart. So to hear that you saved a building like that and restored it to its originality, I love that. I just love that.
Well, it was a lot of fun, and I think this building had an interesting amount of not only architectural, history attached to it, but cultural history attached to it. It's in this very building where Max Factor shifted the public's perception of women wearing makeup. until this time, the only people that wore makeup were the actors and actresses, legitimate theater or vaudeville, flipping it on the stage. But it was Max Factor with this elegant building and this elegant lobby and these makeup rooms and, America's infatuation with celebrities and being able to maybe see a movie star come and go from the world-famous makeup rooms, that he was able to make it acceptable for women to wear a small amount of rouge or eyeshadow or not too strong of a lip color.
Right.
It's kind of interesting to see how that changed, and that's why I thought this was the perfect building for a museum about Hollywood, because it's Max Factor who made these movie stars look the way they look. Believe me, they were born no better looking than you and I or listeners. And in those days, you didn't snap your finger and get liposuction and plastic surgery, so they had to rely on the makeup genius of Max Factor. Yes, it is funny when you think about it, but that's how it was. And, he was a great man, and he was very inventive, and he was also very scientific, too.
Huh. Now, you mentioned Marilyn Monroe, and that is the exhibit you're doing right now. Is did you purchased like a lot of her pictures or something and merchandise? Was it?
Oh, well, actually, the museum is thrilled. We were able to procure a very large number of never-before-seen Marilyn Monroe photos that were taken by Milton Green. And Milton Green was actually known in the 50s and 60s as a great fashion photographer. And he met Marilyn Monroe when he was going to do an expose on her. He was commissioned to do it from Life magazine. And they hit it off so well that Milton Green invited her to come to his Connecticut farmhouse, and his wife Anne just got along with Marilyn so well that they kept a guest room for her, and Marilyn would come and go between productions or public appearances if she had a week off or whatnot. And they got along so well that Marilyn, when she was ready to form Marilyn Monroe Production Company, she had Milton Green form it with her.
Oh, wow.
And so he's been taking pictures of her for well over a decade. And we were able to procure this collection, and I'm thrilled to say it also includes not only the negatives and the transparencies and the photographs, but also the copyrights. And so in the world of collecting, that's a very big deal. And now in this Marilyn Monroe exhibit, we have taken a handful of these photos and put them on display for the first time. I mean, whether it's Marilyn with Sammy Davis Jr., Marilyn with Luella Parsons, Marilyn with Hedda Hopper, Marilyn with Marlene Dietrich, Marilyn with, Milton Berle, Edward R. Morrow. I can go down the list. And, even behind-the-scenes photographs from her films. Everyone always says to me, so, Donelle, what is one of your favorites? Well, even though I'm the president of the museum and shouldn't have a favorite, I do, and it is a photograph of Marilyn very early one morning. She's standing on the empty bleachers that were used in the rodeo scene from Bus Stop. And in the film, you see the bleachers filled with crowds, and Marilyn is one of the many. But in this photo, she's sort of walking through it quietly, and she's got on a pair of jeans, a jean jacket, a cowboy hat, and no makeup on. And it's close up enough that you can see the real Marilyn Monroe.
Huh. That's interesting.
And she was a beauty. There was no doubt about it. She was a beauty. And, this exhibit spans from her childhood all the way through her passing. In 36 years of her life, she was taken away from us way too soon. But she lived in over 40 different residences. Can you imagine?
No.
And so it's hard to imagine. And she only owned one home, and it was the last home, and she didn't even own it for 1 year before she died. And we have furniture from that home. We have artifacts from her childhood. from the famous films, lots of costumes. We even have personal wardrobe. We have the very famous honeymoon dress that Marilyn Monroe wore when she married Joe DiMaggio. They were in Tokyo together, and she went and entertained the troops in the USO shows in Korea in 1954, and she took this dress with her, and it was, she was photographed in this dress. She sang in 3 days in front of 100,000 troops.
Wow.
And it certainly cemented her as being a young actress who was very much desired and on the minds of many a young soldier. And so we love to show that, and we show pretty much every aspect of her, even the autopsy reports, all the comments. We have her refrigerator. I can go down the list. It's so much fun. It's really a glimpse, an intimate glimpse into Marilyn Monroe's life, not only publicly, but her personal life.
Now, when something like that is presented to you, or you hear through the grapevine, you're able to purchase a collection like that, I would just go nuts. I have to have it, especially if you're owning a museum. It'd be perfect for the museum. But I mean, do you just get? You got to get giddy, you know what I mean? I would just be so ecstatic.
Well, needless to say, we are very ecstatic, and at the museum, there's always Marilyn Monroe here. But the exhibit does swell to this proportion during the summer months because, Marilyn Monroe was born June 1, and she passed away August 5th. And there are pilgrimages of Marilyn Monroe fans from around the world that come to Hollywood to look for Marilyn Monroe and trace her steps around her birthday, as well as in August around the date of her death. And so we try to provide them each year with items that may never have been seen before. And we add that to our exhibit, and they're just thrilled. It is amazing.
That is great. It's scary, too. I think I just saw the other day or recently, I think she was supposed to be 80-something years old, 81 years old this year or something, maybe?
A little bit older, yes. And it's because I guess she would be 81, yes. Mm-hmm.
You just don't, you can never picture her that way. You just picture her stopped in time.
Well, isn't that true? These computer-generated photographs, what she would look like, 20, 30 years older, whatnot. But Marilyn, James Dean, John F. Kennedy, all these people who were great but struck down in the prime of their life, for them, time stands still. The rest of us, we just get older, and for me, it's fun to see teenagers today having a Marilyn Monroe wallet.
Right.
And you wonder, why do they have this wallet? And I love to ask the questions, being an ex-school teacher. And you would be surprised. Most of them tell us, well, when I'm with Nana or Grandpa, they babysat me when I was little, and we would watch these, movies of Marilyn Monroe. And it was amazing because, Nana and Grandpa, they didn't fight over it, and they both wanted to see it. And to me, that's what's very interesting, because it's these recollections and memories that young people remember. But more importantly, it solidifies what we recognize, that Marilyn Monroe appealed to both men and women of all ages. And that's because, take it for granted, she was gorgeous. There's no doubt about it. There was a luminescence in her eyes, her skin, everything. And she was fun to watch. But Marilyn for women knew that Marilyn was vulnerable, and Marilyn made mistakes. And I'm going to tell you, many women equated with that, wow, this woman was so honest, she was so open. Gee, I've done those stupid things before. I've made those silly mistakes. My judgment may have been clouded. Well, Marilyn was too. And so they can relate. They don't feel threatened by her beauty because she was very realistic. Men, on the other hand, loved her beauty, and they recognized all of these weaknesses, and they wanted to come in and rescue her. But both men and women saw these different traits of her that allowed everyone to adore her and be a fan.
Wow. I'm already going to guess what the answer is, but what is your favorite display in the museum? I should say beside Marilyn Monroe.
Well, see, now this I really have to say, because I am the president of the Hollywood Museum, it just wouldn't be fair of me to tell you what my favorite exhibit is. But we have got some knockout exhibits that, people come from all over the world to experience. And, one is Hannibal Lecter's jail cell, the entire cell block that Jodie Foster walked down as Dr. Clarice Starling. We have the jail cell completely outfitted with, the jail cell uniform that Anthony Hopkins wore, his shoes, his straitjacket, all the artwork he did during his incarceration, the latrine, everything. And our goal is to make everything a real experience. It's one thing to go to, an amusement park or tourist attraction, but we are a museum because everything is authentic.
That is great. Now, how about, I was thinking too, is there any place in the museum, maybe say like after hours, where you just like go and maybe have like alone time and just like sit and relax and just gather your thoughts?
Well, when I was building out the museum, I used to go in Hannibal Lecter's jail cell corridor and go to the padded room and shut the door and scream a few times. And then I would open up the door and I'd come out and I would just be laughing because I realized, okay, I got it off my chest. And
that's funny.
I love all of that. I find that funny, but I will tell you a funny story. So we've had many Ghostbusters in the museum, and they have seen different spirits going between the makeup rooms. And in the lower level where we have Hannibal Lecter's jail cell and all things creepy, whether it's the coffins from True Blood, or the different television shows that we have down there. And it's always amazing to me. There have been William Powell, there's been Clark Gable. They've all been in that speakeasy, I guess, when they were living, and they come back to relive it. But one of the best stories was we were working on the third floor one night, and we could have sworn, we have Roddy McDowell's bathroom up there, and that's a whole story in itself. But it's quite something, down to the original tiles, the toilet, his pet rock, his towel rack, his towels. But he was a fabulous photographer, so inside this bathroom that was done exactly the same way as it was in Roddy's home, all these photographs of the great stars from Once Upon a Time that they would present to Roddy. We could have sworn it was Betty Davis walking into that bathroom with the cigarette smoke. She had a particular walk, and she was very disturbed that her photograph that sat on the tank of the toilet was not angled correctly. And she let it be known, and I will tell you, I was too frightened to get anywhere near there, but the next day when we turned the museum lights on, in the morning, and we went back there, the photograph, framed photograph, was sitting still on the toilet tank top, but at a different angle.
Oh.
I have not experienced anything like that before.
Well, that's kind of freaky.
It was very freaky, and it was definitely Betty Davis.
Huh.
So amazing.
So you had some Ghostbusters people come through there?
Oh, yes, we've had that, and it seems that there was tremendous activity in the lower level where Hannibal Lecter's jail cell was, because during Prohibition days, it was a bowling alley and speakeasy operated by Max Factor's black sheep brother, Jake the Barber. So there was some wild times down there. And we've always, we know about it because there's still some people who come to visit us who actually were there as children when their parents were there. They were parked in the corner of the speakeasy in a booth. And I'm always amazed that Max Factor was someone who found, if not one way or another, he was going to make ends meet. And he did it that way during Prohibition days. He operated a speakeasy in the lower level.
Wow. So now, how? I mean, that building is really old then.
It is. It was originally built in the teens. It was built as the Hollywood Fire and Safe building. It's solid concrete poured in place with metal, with steel reinforcement. And so it was perfect for Max Factor because, you know, he used explosive charges to mix color in his powder products.
Oh, wow.
And he loved the elevator. The elevator was a freight elevator. And the elevator held up to 12,000 pounds, and that was perfect for the original storage facility because it's where all the movie greats, whether it be, you know, Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, Rudolph Valentino, they all stored their 12-cylinder Duesenbergs or Cadillacs, and they stored them on the upper floors while they were busy either vacationing or filming in other places. Because let's say they were going to be in New York. You just didn't take a 6-hour trip there and back. You know, it took you days, maybe almost a week by railroad to get there.
Right.
So they like to store their good things there in this building. And when Max Factor came along, he was intrigued by this freight elevator because I did not know this, but Max Factor was a time and motion expert. And so he had calculated out that he would save tremendous labor, man hours, and equipment if he could load his trucks with the product that was created on the upper levels of this building, because these are the factory levels where they made lipstick, where they did powder, face makeup, eyeshadow, all sorts of things. And he realized that if he could just raise the delivery truck up floor by floor, he could load the product on without having to, by hand, bring those products down on a dolly or something else. He could quickly load them into the back of a delivery truck. And that's what he did. And when the elevator would come down to the ground level, they would open up the roll-up door in the back of the building, and this delivery truck that was filled to the brim would roll out of the building, down the alley, and either go to Union Station or to a local department store or drugstore to deliver Max Factor cosmetics.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
It's quite a story. This is a very, very intriguing building. It's had many lives to it, and we're just thrilled that we were able to breathe a new story into this building. Yeah. And yet at the same time help celebrate what it was once upon a time in its heyday.
And you're doing an incredible job. See, now I have to get out there. I got to come out there, and I got to see this place.
Come on out, and I'll give you a tour personally. And
I would love
if you're good, I will not lock you in Hannibal Lecter's jail cell. But you can try his mask on. I'll let you try his mask on.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so, okay, the Marilyn Monroe exhibit is going on through September, was it 15th?
It's going on till September 6th, yes.
6th, okay. Great. And do you have the next one planned? That's right. It's the TV Emmys.
That's correct, and that's coming up next. It's quite something. There's always something new at the museum, and like I said, you know, we have 10,000 exhibits. There's something here for everyone.
Yeah, that's a lot. How long does it take to really be able to go through and soak everything in?
Oh, well, you know, Bae, that's a great question because some people, you know, there are people who look and then there's people who stand in front of an exhibit and read the text panels. You know, the average person, it's about an hour and a half or so. Some people actually come in the morning, they spend the morning, they get their hands stamped, go next door to Mel's Drive-In, soak in a little bit of American graffiti, and then they come back and spend the afternoon with us. You know, so it's hard to say. An hour and a half, 2-3 hours usually does it.
Great. Very, very good. And where can everybody get more information on the museum?
Well, you can go to our website, at thehollywoodmuseum.com, all one word, thehollywoodmuseum.com. And we're located at 1660 North Highland Avenue, one building south of Hollywood Boulevard. And our hours of operation are Wednesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh, wow, you close early. Look at that. You got a good schedule going on.
We got banker schedule.
Look at that. Very good. Good for you. Now, are you always there?
I come and go. I am wherever I am needed. I love the museum. For me, the museum, is really an extension of my dreams, and I'm thrilled to see it in fruition, and I'm thrilled to quietly observe all of the tourists and local spaces alike and the discussions that they have between themselves about their remembrances of Hollywood or their favorite film scene or their favorite television show episode. So I love to watch quietly.
That's great. This is a must-go place for all you Hollywood lovers. You got to go. I got to go. I would love to see it.
I'd love for you to join us. It'd be great.
When I get out there, I'm going to make sure I come by, and I'm going to make sure I give you a heads up.
Perfect. We can have fun together. We'll see the museum. We'll have lunch at Mel's Drive-In. You can watch some of different films in our screening room. It's where Max Factor saw the dailies once upon a time. It's a great way to spend the day.
Sounds like a plan. Very good. Danielle, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and telling us about the museum.
Well, Bay, I loved being on your show, and I look forward to seeing you in person.
I hope so. Thanks so much, Danielle, and I got to get out there.
Oh, we'd love to have you with us, and thank you again.
You're welcome. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, there she goes, the president and founder of the Hollywood Museum. I could spend all day long in there, Nick. I mean, I could just stare and stare and stare at the exhibits.
I was looking at some of the stuff they have on the website, and we could be there all day, dude. Like, we might have to do Totally Driven Radio Goes Hollywood. Like,
yeah.
We finally meet Kristen. We could talk to what's his name, Joey Feldman. We could have all of the guys that we talk to that are always out in L.A. stop by. Like, we could have a nice little show.
I'm telling you, that place, I guarantee, is just absolutely amazing. I'd want to sit there, like, I would just sit there and stare and just stare. Like, I just love soaking in things like that, like historic things.
Yeah. And there's not just, I mean, she mentioned a lot of the pictures, but there's so many different exhibits and, there's cars. There's just so much cool stuff there.
Yeah, there's cars, which she was talking about the elevator. I'm assuming that's how they're getting the cars up and down. There's 4 floors to that building.
It's pretty crazy, man.
Incredible. So for more information, go to thehollywoodmuseum.com. You can find out about the exhibits, the hours. They have a changing exhibit every month, she said.
And, another thing, too, just real quick, is the building itself is, I mean, it's Hollywood Art Deco. It's Max Factor. It's, you know what I mean? Like, there were so many just innovations created in that building as well. You know what I mean? It's really, not to mention Max Factor himself. Like I mentioned in our private chat, was the makeup artist for all intents and purposes for Tsar Nicholas. You know what I mean? Like there really is over 100 years of just treasure surrounding that museum, including the building it's in.
Yeah, and that's pretty wild too. She was saying even before Max Factor's brother had it as a speakeasy bowling alley.
Yeah, absolutely crazy, man.
That's wild. Absolutely. I just,
Dude,
I love
I would
history.
love to
I
go.
really do.
Wouldn't you love? I would love to go in and see that. Like, have you seen pictures of the lobby? How it's all like pink, the rose colored. Yeah, dude, we gotta. All right, well, let's get planning. Too funny, man.